everybody. Welcome to a particularly powerful episode of Unboxed with Mercedes. Have you ever felt trapped in the relentless cycle of trying to be the perfect woman? Well, today's conversation dives deep into this notion, challenging and dissecting the age-old myth of the superwoman. Empower Her, shattering the superwoman myth and embracing authenticity, is not just a title. It's a movement, a declaration, and an invitation for all of us to look inward. We discuss the all too familiar weight many women feel as they try to flawlessly juggle work, family, and societal standards. But we also cast a special spotlight on the narratives surrounding Black women, often labeled as the strong Black woman by society. These labels, though sometimes worn as badges of honor, can also become burdens that overshadow individual experiences, needs, and vulnerabilities. Every woman has her own battle, and every woman deserves to prioritize her well-being. This episode is a rallying cry for us all to challenge these unrealistic standards, lean into the strength of our communities, and champion the importance of self-care. So, get ready to be enlightened, to reflect, and most importantly, to be empowered. Today, we have a remarkable guest, Mrs. Ciara Walker, and she wears multiple hats. She's a loving wife, a dedicated working mom, and a successful entrepreneur, just to name a few, because she has a whole lot going on. And she's joining us today as we dive into the concept of being a superwoman and the challenges it brings, especially in the modern world. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm so happy you're here. So just for the audience knowledge, I've known Ciara, I don't know, probably over 20 years now.
About 22 years.
About 22 years. So we have a very long history, and I've seen her grow. I've seen her be a superwoman. So she's going to share her experience about this superwoman concept. So let's just talk about it. Let's just jump into it. So we know society often places unrealistic expectations on women to be successful, to be perfect in every aspect of their lives, and to just juggle multiple roles, seamlessly. But I want you to share your thoughts on what it really means to be a superwoman.
I think for me, at least, being a superwoman is knowing who you are, staying true to yourself. And it's nothing wrong with juggling all the things, but if you're not able to, being okay with that. Like, I spent a lot of time, especially early in my marriage, because I wear so many hats and I juggle so many things. Whenever I would, not purposely, but whenever I would neglect one area, I would feel like I'm failing. Like, so if I put my all into my kids, then maybe I wasn't doing enough with my husband. If I put my all into my husband, then maybe I felt like I wasn't being a great mom. If I only focused on my home life, then work was getting the short end of the stick, and vice versa. So I feel like there is always going to be some area where you feel like you're not you can't give 100% to everything. Maybe something can be 75 or 85%, and then something else is going to get what you have left. But for me, what's important is making sure that whatever you are pouring yourself into, that you're making sure you're filling yourself up first. So that's what's important, because I can try to be a superwoman to everybody around me, but if I'm not first taking care of myself, nobody's going to get the best parts of me anyway. So I love this topic because the first time I had experiences with changing what that definition meant for me, I remember breaking down and telling my mom, like, I just feel like I'm not doing enough. And she reminded me, it was actually on a birthday post. She reminded me that when I was 5 years old, I asked her to sing to me a lullaby, and she goes, like a bedtime song. And she goes, what song do you want to hear? And so she's thinking I'm going to ask for like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star or something. And at 5 years old, I started singing I'm Not Your Superwoman. So for those of you who don't know, it's a song by it's written by Babyface, produced by Larry and Karen White, I think it's the name. Yeah. Karen White sang it. This was performed in 1988, so I was only 5 years old. And for me to identify with that song at that age, that really speaks to who I am at my core. I'm not your superwoman. I'm not. Now, my husband will probably say otherwise, and my children will say that I am in every sense a superwoman, but I no longer put all of those pressures and constraints on myself. I know my limits. If I'm tired, I'm going to take a nap. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to push myself to where I'm getting sick. Like, I'm just not. It's not important to me anymore. Um, so, yeah, I could talk on and on all day about that subject.
I love it though. We're off to a really good start because society puts so much pressure on us as women, and we think it's a great thing if we're able to do all these multiple things, but quite honestly, it's really just overwhelming, and trying to balance all those roles can really make things even more chaotic.
Yep.
But I'm wondering, you know how is it that you initially embraced the idea of being a superwoman?
I think honestly, it was probably looking at my mom and all of the women in my family, all of the women that played a role in raising me. You know, you grow up and you see all of these incredible, strong women, like they're doing everything. Like, so my mother, I don't think there was a time where somebody wasn't at our house. Like, she literally opened our doors to everyone. I even had friends from school come and stay with us at some point in time. Like on two different occasions, I have friends from school that literally stay with us. I think it was about 2 weeks at a time for each friend. Now I can't even imagine. I'm a mom now. I can't even imagine my children telling me, "Oh, so and so got into an argument with their mom. Can they come live with us?" No,
Oh my.
absolutely not. But that's who my mom was. If somebody was like, you know, having a hard time and needed to get back on their feet, she opened up her doors and said, "Hey, you can stay with us until you get on your feet. You don't have to pay for anything." So I did adapt that from her. Like we have my husband and I, we always say we got this big house, we got extra space. Sure, why not? As long as you're not interrupting our peace and disrespecting our home, we'll open our doors to you. So that's like one of the things I picked up from her. Um, and just like I said, watching my mom juggle so many things. So I feel like it probably started when I was in, I would say, elementary school, or even, yeah, as early as elementary school. Because for instance, I vividly remember being in Head Start when
Mm-hmm.
my mom was taking college courses. So she would drop me off at Head Start. And then, because I remember like walking through the little tunnels and everything, because it like connected the schools. So I would go to school and then she would go to school. And then as I got older, when she had my little sister, I remember my brother and I, we were older, so we would just run off and play by ourselves. But she was in class while pregnant, like 8 months pregnant with my sister. And I turned around and did the same thing, like just going through college, while pregnant. And so I know that pregnancy is not a disability, but
Mm-hmm.
for a woman to just keep marching forward and not stop and not just want to sleep all day when she has every right to, I think that
Mm-hmm.
says a lot about her determination. So just being a young girl and watching my mom do all of these different things, working full time, always working full time, but still being very present at our schools. Our teachers knew who she was. She still helped us with homework, and it wasn't in a sense that she provided a crutch for us. It was more so, like, cause she held us accountable. So if we needed help, it better not have been because we were not paying attention, because,
Right.
her time is valuable. So she always told us at young ages, our only job is to go to school, paying attention to our teachers. And so when we came home, if we needed a little bit more assistance, or if it was like an extra project or something, she was there helping us. She would have her cup of coffee and we'd be putting together projects. So
Wow.
this is, I mean, even I remember in middle school when we moved across to the other side of town, I was 12 years old. I had been in this school since I was in kindergarten. So it was like my last year. I didn't want to leave my friends, everything that I knew. And my mom literally woke up at 4:30 in the morning to drive me and my siblings all the way to the other side of town. So she would drop us off at my grandmother's house and we would walk to school with our cousins. She go to work and then come back and get us. So that, to me, that's a superwoman. And
Mm-hmm.
as I got older and I became a parent, I just always reflected back on what I saw her doing and what I remember. And I would call her sometimes like, Mom, how did you do it? I mean, just going to the amusement park with your kids. We would go and shut the park down. I mean, from like the moment they opened those gates until the lights went off, we were there. And I called her the first time I took my kids to like, I can't remember if it was Six Flags or something. It was probably like Disney. I said, how on earth did you do this? Like, I'm tired. I don't want to sit in, in the hot sun.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what she told me? She said, honestly, Ciara, I just wanted to make sure that we got our money's worth. It was a
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice to take y'all to these places. So we were going to go and enjoy ourselves. And I was like, okay, that changed my perspective. But yeah, it would have to be my mom and like all of the women in my family, my aunts, my grandmothers. My grandmother on my dad's side, she raised 10 children.
That's
10.
amazing. 10.
10.
Yes. Wow.
10. So I have so many different variations of what Superwoman means to me because of what I saw. And then I was able to take all of those different examples and I have pieces, bits and pieces of every woman that I was able to incorporate into my life and form my own definition. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of great women to look up to, but I don't dare try to fill their shoes because their journey was their journey. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
all have our cross to carry. And so I'm very much in tune with that. I don't compare myself or anything like that, but I hold on to what I saw them do as inspiration. And so on those days that it get difficult for me, or I might feel like something is too hard, I just kind of lean on the shoulders of those women before me and be like, okay, if they did it, I can do it. If they were
Mm-hmm.
able to do this with 10 children, I know I can do it with mine, you know?
Yeah, that's it's so crazy you say that because one of the things that you mentioned is that you embrace that superwoman lifestyle because of the women in your family. And I think the idea of um this generational connection, we've seen our moms do it. So, that's and they are and were great examples for us. I know in my family, my mom, she was a single mom. She wasn't a superwoman by any means. My mom was just focused on, the things that she wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
She had a plan. She can make a family meal out of $2, right? She was just very creative in that aspect, but she definitely wasn't a superwoman. And then you said something about you know, that your mom would do all these things and then she would come and be present.
Yep.
Now, you know, that's a struggle for a lot of people that's feeding into this. Probably all of us, right?
Yeah.
That's feeding into this narrative of being a superwoman. Can you share like some stories or some of your experiences of the difficulty or the struggle with trying to be present while you're trying to do all these million and one things and trying to please everybody?
I would say the time that was the hardest for me was when I was a single mom. I had just got out of the military and I moved to Georgia and I was newly single. I had this 2-year-old son to take care of, no support here. I had one family member who's my uncle and he lived like over an hour away from me. So that was basically like I was by myself. And I literally only had him listed as my emergency contact. Like, but we didn't see each other because he was so far.
Mm-hmm.
He was an hour away, but with traffic it's even further. So I remember because I would work 2 jobs. So I would work my main job, a 16-hour shift, and then I would get off work and wait and see if I had to go right back because oftentimes you had to do mandatory overtime. And so all they required was that you're off for a period of 8 hours. But in that
Mm-hmm.
8 hours, you're supposed to sleep, take care of your home, cook, all of these different things, right? So really it's not 8 full hours because you have to take into consideration your commute and whatever else you got to do on top of resting because I work the night shift. And so I remember thinking like, these are the most important years of my baby's life. And I'm literally spending all of my time at work. And what got me through that season was knowing that while I'm missing out on a lot of time that I won't be able to get back, I knew that I was making the right decision in taking care of him because I know that when he got older, he would have appreciated me providing a home for him where he never wanted for anything, never needed anything, or never went without any necessities because I sacrificed, as opposed to me being there with him and we both sit in the house looking at each other hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always, even though I had the working mom guilt, I was always able to go back to my why. Well, why am I doing this? Why am I working so hard? And as long as that why made sense and it put things into perspective, then I stopped feeling bad about it. Um, as he got older and then I ended up having his sister, I remember feeling like these schools really don't care about working moms. They look down on us actually because we're trying to provide for our kids. And by now I'm remarried and everything. And I remember feeling singled out and isolated because I wanted to be like my mom. I wanted to join the PTA and do all of the things at the schools and come and read to the kindergartners. But what they did was they will always schedule things during working hours. Even stuff that was considered extracurricular, it would still be within the, regular business hours or banking hours. And so I will always ask them like, well, why can't you do anything after 5? Like there's a lot of us mothers who are here that, we want to be a part of everything that we have going on at the school. And so little stuff like that, it was it was always a struggle for me trying to maintain that balance. But again, I just always remember why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm real good at being self-motivated and I stick to my vision. When I have a plan, I stick to it. I don't really deviate much from whatever it is I'm going after. I might get delayed, but I'm not deviating from that plan. And so even though I had a few obstacles along the way and, like I said, there were times where I felt the guilt, I just kept going forward because I knew all of my hard work, everything that I'm doing, I'm building a life that my children, there's a saying right now on social media, I'm building a life that my children won't need therapy from.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confident that the children that once they leave my home, I'm raising incredible human beings. I know that when they leave my home, they have everything that they need and I've done my best. And that's all that I can ask for. So yeah, I hope I answered the question. I feel like I ran off on a tangent.
No, you're right where you need to be. I love it though because you know at that stage in your life, how old were you?
When I was a single mom,
Mm-hmm. Like when you first moved back to
when I first moved back, it was right before I turned 22. So
wow.
I was 21 going on 22 because it was that summer. So yeah, it was tough. I would do 40 hours in 2.5 days.
Oh my
So from
goodness.
Saturday to Monday, I would work 40 hours and then I had mandatory overtime. So you can imagine how exhausted I was. And then
Mm-hmm.
I would say like probably about a year after that, or not even a full year, maybe several months after I was working that crazy schedule, I started picking up classes. Like I would take classes here and there to get into healthcare because I felt
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, this is good money, but I'm not happy. It's good money, but I can't see my son. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I decided to go into healthcare. So
I like how you sort of flip the script because so it's the picture is okay, you subscribe to this superwoman narrative, right? Because you felt like this is
this is what
is
we
what you
do.
needed to do. Right. And it's what we knew, is what we saw, what we grew up with. But then at 22, you still had the presence of mind to say, you know what, this isn't working for me. Something has to change because there is more to life than this. You had a child of, a young child that you had to take care of. And
Yeah.
I think what I love most about your story is that you you were able to see that continuing down this path of trying to do it all just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And you made a conscious decision, to flip the script. So I guess, how did you overcome those challenges? Like, what were some of the things? Because this superwoman myth is just, it's there, and people believe that this thing is real, and it's really not. So I want to know, how did you overcome, or are you still overcoming some of those challenges of this superwoman narrative?
Um, I don't know if it's just my personality type or just I get great fulfillment from being there for people and taking care of people and being like, being the person that has the solutions to whatever problem you're facing. So I think in a sense that I'm still overcoming that, but the difference now is I give myself grace. I give myself
Mm,
grace. Like I know that I can't do it all even if I want to. And
yeah.
so now the old Ciara back at 21, 22, I would hear somebody's story and I will automatically the wheels will get to turning and I'll try to figure out how can I correct this issue. Well now, I don't move unless God tells me to.
Mm,
I'm not doing something or becoming a part of something unless I know that I'm absolutely supposed to. So for sure grace. I have to give myself grace. I know that I can't do it all. Um, and then being okay with just doing life one thing at a time. I focus on small portions of whatever that I have. We have, how whenever you're about to get into a relationship, they say, well, what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the table?
yeah.
Whatever you bring to the table, you focus on, this little, if you bring in the food, portion control. Or if you bring in a table, like I
Hmm.
try to focus on just a little bit at a time. And even if I am in a season where I have to multitask, like right now, I'm multitasking a lot. Like
Hmm.
helping my husband with his business. I have my career. I just switched to a different hospital. So that comes along with a whole lot. I've got some other goals in motion that's for, the purpose of elevation. So all of these things that I have going on, I try to pace myself and I
Hmm.
try to remember that, okay, the busyness right now is just for a season. And I'm okay with if I can't do something. If I might have plans to like grand plans to do all of these great things. And then if something happens where I have to reschedule, then I'm okay with that as opposed to beating myself up like before. Um, like I said, before I used to feel bad or feel like, oh, maybe I'm not as good of like my mom cooked all the time. And then when she wasn't cooking, she taught me how to cook. So I was picking up the pieces. I'm not that mom. If I don't work and 12-hour shift and I got all of these things going on, we about to go and get a pizza.
Right.
Or my husband, he does so much. He cooks a lot when I'm tired. But like I pay attention to just my mood too. Like I'm not about to go in the kitchen if I'm exhausted or if I had a rough day, because I like to give my family food that's made with love. So if I'm
Mhm.
having a hard day, then that food is probably gonna be like, let me just throw this together and slide it on the table. No,
I love that you said that it depends on your mood too,
I
because you
really pay
want to.
attention to my mood.
Yeah, because if you want to cook a meal, you said, I love what you just said. You want to serve that meal with love.
I do.
And people don't realize how much trying to be this superwoman impacts your quality of life. I mean, and it's not just yours, it's the lives of
Everybody
your
around me.
children. Yeah. And it takes away so much. I love that you said that. I never even really thought about it that way, you know, how much it can impact your life. So it's refreshing to hear how you've managed to redefine, or still redefining, your identity. Um, and I think it's important to acknowledge that striving for perfection in all areas can take a toll on anybody.
It makes you anxious because I will say that to my core, I am a perfectionist. Like, I do things in excellency. Like, I don't like shortcuts. I don't like half doing something. I'm the person in school. If there's a group project, I'm going to be the one to put it together because I want to make sure that I'm getting an A. I'm not going to trust you. You might be a good student, but I don't know what you do. I don't know what type of papers you're submitted to the teacher. So let me do it. That's
Right.
me. But even with that, that comes with a price. And so a lot of times I tell myself, if we got a group project, I'm not doing everything this time. And then I still end up doing it. So what I do now, I've learned to give myself more time, extra time. So instead of telling people, oh, just submit your portion to me about 2 days before the deadline. No, you're gonna give it to me a whole week before. So I'm not putting that much pressure on myself. But yeah, that perfectionism and procrastination, those are the two
Mhm.
things that are just terrible for anybody.
All the time. Now, earlier you said that one of the ways in which you kind of debunk or try to redefine the superwoman lifestyle is you give yourself grace. And in a nutshell, you can say no. You feel like you don't have to do anything. I want to talk about the grace part because a lot of women feel they don't have to give themselves grace. A lot of women don't even know what grace is. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think for me it means just knowing, so it's a broad definition, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's knowing your limits, right? Knowing what you can and cannot handle. Um and like, remember I was saying earlier, sometimes I might have all of these grand plans to do all of these magnificent things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
something will happen to where the plans, I can't see them through, or maybe the timing is off. Well, grace comes in and allows me to say, it's okay, Ciara, things change. It's okay. I don't beat myself up anymore like I would have in the past. In the past, I would be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's taking you so long to do XYZ. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that you did this laundry and you still haven't folded it. Guess it's
Yeah.
okay. Those clothes are clean.
Mhm.
That's what matters. If I'm
Yeah.
tired, my rest is more important than anything. So
Oh, you preaching now.
push myself. But right now, I feel like my generation, we preach so much about the hustle and the grind. And then
Mm-hmm.
all of these young people and young entrepreneurs are having all of these heart issues because they're not resting. They're
Mm.
not giving their bodies time to recuperate and heal itself. So my mom always says I'm the queen of rest because I do not play about my rest. I work hard, but I rest just as hard. So like, I'm the person on vacation. I'm not creating an itinerary. I'm not about to have you doing all kind of no, I'm going to relax on the beach by some water because that's what rest is for me. Time to meditate and really get myself together and just focus on where I want to go next in life.
Yeah, and that's good because we can't be our fully present selves if our cup is empty. So that self-care is so 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 important. But I'm wondering, what advice do you have for women who feel trapped in this superwoman mindset or feel pressured to be this strong woman and afraid of embracing their vulnerability? So they're afraid a little, they're struggling to embrace their true selves. What advice would you give women?
They got to figure out where it comes from. Sometimes it comes from a void that you have in your own life. So for me, like I said, I like taking care of people. I like being the solution. I like serving other people. But a lot of ways I've learned as I grew up and learned more about myself, I realized that I give people what I felt like I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with my kids. My parents were great. They did the best they could, but there's like certain aspects of childhood that I think everybody has a story they can tell about how they were raised, right? And
Yeah.
so as you start, being around children, whether it's your own children or children in your family or even just in your community, if you're a part of a village of some child, you try to pour into them in ways that you wish someone had poured into you. And so the first thing for that is to figure out where it's coming from. What is the underlying reason that you want to be a superwoman or you feel like you need to be a superwoman?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am honest with what I got going on. I don't fake it anymore. Um, I tell my family, I lean on my support system. I tell my husband when my load is heavy. I tell um, my parents, even though I'm grown and gone out their house, I tell them like, "Hey, this is hard. What did you do? How did you get through these moments when you dealt with X, Y, Z?" Whenever I was the queen of calling my mom for parenting questions, I remember the first time I made a Thanksgiving dinner. I was like, "What on earth was I doing when she was cooking all these Thanksgiving meals?" And then, and then I realized, like, oh, I was out performing. Like I always performed in like the Thanksgiving Day parades and the band. So I really wasn't home when she was cooking those huge meals. And I didn't realize it until I was older and had to do it myself. And I was like, how do you make dressing? I cooked my whole first Thanksgiving meal on the phone with my mom and my aunt. But
Oh.
that's just a good example of leaning on your village, leaning on your support system,
Mm.
asking for help. It's okay to ask for help. Like a superwoman trying to do everything herself, but then it's not sustainable. You're gonna break at some point. You have to lean on your support system for help.
That's powerful because, you know, that can be that's the death of us when we just don't understand our limitations. We have to accept our limitations. We have to prioritize our self-care. And we have to embrace those areas in which we're vulnerable. I love that you said, look, you're just not faking it anymore. I just say where I'm at. When you talk to your husband, you tell him where look, this is a little bit heavy for me to carry.
Yep.
And you tap into your support system. You often hear people say, well, I just have to do this all by myself and this, that, the other. And I don't want, to ask people for help. But the reality is that's why a lot of us feel the way we do because we don't know how to tap into our support system. And I absolutely love that you said, look, mom, I don't know. Look.
I don't know what I'm doing. Help. Man, help me. So I think like just not asking for help, that's being prideful, is creating self-imposed stress, anxiety,
Mhm.
depression. Who want to feel like that? So the Bible says we are to live a long and prosperous life. And so if my
Mhm.
life isn't adding up to what that word says it's supposed to be, I try to do everything I can to match up to what his word says. Um, have life and have it abundantly. So
Yes.
abundance and it doesn't have to be just wealth. Abundance can be an abundance of love, an abundance of joy, peace, happiness, all of those things. And so I'm telling you, I really lean on my support system. Nowadays, it's more so my husband, my daughter, because it's just us at home. And then
Mhm.
I have a couple of close friends and family members, friends that are like family, and
Mhm.
that's it. And I make sure I'm spending time connecting with God. Um, Sometimes when I have so much going on in my head, it's hard for me to sit down and quiet my thoughts. And so I'll write. Journaling helps me a lot. I feel like I communicate better when I write. And so I literally will write my prayers out to God. And the good thing is I'm doing this in a way I'm trying to relieve whatever stress I'm under, but then I'm able to go back and read all of the different things that bothered me before or all of the things that I desired back then. I can go back and read those prayers
Mhm.
and journal entries that turn into testimonies.
Wow. It's funny because I remember a time in my own life when I was everything to everyone. And I didn't realize how burned out I was. And to hear you say that you keep God in the center, that you talk to God often, that you find a way to get your thoughts out by journaling. I think sometimes, we forget, where our source comes from, right? Where the source of our help comes from. And, I love God to the utmost. And but sometimes even I forget, because I'm just so in the moment of trying to do it all
Mhm.
and, forget, okay, well, Lord, you're where my help comes from. So I love that you're able to remember and to tap into him And he's always there. That's the thing is like he is look, he is on call.
There you go. Okay, it's about time. I was waiting for you to come back to me and tell me how to help you get through this. That's how he talks to me. It's about time.
Yeah, while he's just watching us, go through because he's trying to
Mhm.
teach us something at the same time. So I absolutely love that. Now, one of the things that I really want to talk about, I call it the elephant in the room, debunking these stereotypes that people place on Black women. Now, I've experienced it myself where I may do something well, exceptionally well, or, I multitask, and someone will say, "Oh, look at you, you strong Black woman. You just got it all together." And in my younger day, I used to think, "Oh, thank you," thinking it was a compliment. But as you get older, you realize that it really isn't. So, as a successful Black woman, you've probably encountered some of these societal narratives too about being a strong
Yeah,
Black woman, right?
I'm
A strong
sure.
Black woman, right?
Especially in academics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, how can we challenge and debunk these stereotypes to empower Black women in all walks of life?
Um, that is a good question. So I think it first begins with making sure that we're not becoming the stereotype that's out
Mm-hmm.
there about us. So for instance, when we deal with um disappointing tactic, and it's not just with the different races, but even our male counterparts, we just have to do so much compared to everybody else. And so knowing who we are, knowing the power that we possess and owning that power and not allowing anybody to use it against us. I remember in this one academic program I was in when I lived in California, I was the only Black woman there, and I felt so much pressure and weight.
Mm.
And the teacher, these were prerequisite classes we had to take to even apply to nursing school. So I hadn't even gotten into nursing school yet. This was just the classes you take to kind of get weeded out of the selection process. It was a very competitive and difficult program. And I remember the teacher had, she assigned numbers to us. And so whenever all of the grades were posted, they were posted publicly.
Mm.
But nobody knew whose number was whose unless you had like a friend and you told them. And so I remember this one really hard exam we took was on a microbiology class, and whoever had a low score, it wasn't me, but somebody had made the comment, "Oh, we all know whose score that one is." I'm the only Black woman, right? And so I remember thinking to myself, I know he ain't talking about me because I'm one of the heavyweights in here. You better not be
Mhm.
talking about me. Um, and then I remember just having to retrain my mind. You know what? I don't care what it is that they think about
Mhm.
me. I don't care. Because remember, we had all of the stuff happen with affirmative action and everything.
Mhm.
I'm done trying to prove to people that I deserve to be where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's not because of no quota. I'm not your token Black girl. I am
Mhm.
here because I am a number one favor from God, right? That's first and foremost.
Mhm.
I'm here because I'm qualified. I have the credentials. I've earned a seat just like you did. And so once I started retraining my mind, then guess what? It followed.
I
So
love it. Yeah, I love it because that you're right. There is a lot of pressure on us as Black women, and that is a fact. Um, we are one of the most underrepresented, if not the most underrepresented group in society, and having the added pressure of doing things well all of the time,
mhm,
um, it's a lot. And I think one of the things I feel like is really crucial to understand that strength comes in various forms, right? And being a strong Black woman doesn't mean suppressing emotions or carrying the weight of the world on our
right,
shoulders. We
right.
just can't do it. And I don't know how society came to this to this falsehood of thinking, um, we can do it all.
Mhm,
But I find it refreshing to know that, look, we're emotional human beings. that we're creating space within our own community now in this generation to say, okay, it's okay. You don't have to do it all. You can cry a little. You can scream when the
Oh,
load is too heavy.
I cry a lot. I get me some nice, good cleansing cries out all the time.
Mhm. We have to do it because what happens on the inside if we don't? Can
Right.
you imagine? I mean, oh my goodness. I just think about our parents when they were growing. Like I said before, my mom was not a superwoman. She just did what she had to do.
Mhm.
And I just think about, the you know, the elders, what they had to go through.
Yeah.
And, you know, doing all this just to be validated or just to be seen. And it's a lot. And even even today, Black women there's still a lot of pressure on us.
Yeah.
And I feel like that needs to change, but how do we do it, right? So
Yeah.
how can we challenge this narrative as it relates to Black women and create a more supportive environment for women and just move away from this superwoman myth?
I think the onus is on us as women. We have to make sure that, they have that saying, I'm our brother's keeper. We got to be that for each other. We have to look out for our sisters.
You gotta have empathy. Yeah.
Right. We have to make sure if we see a sister struggling and going through something, don't talk about her. Reach out
Mm,
to her and ask her how you can help her, how you can uplift her. If we see, I remember when I was younger and there was very strict guidelines in church, right? You
mhm.
couldn't wear pants. Women couldn't wear pants. You couldn't wear red lipstick, red nail polish. I mean, all of these, I don't want to say ridiculous, but to me as a kid, I felt they were ridiculous rules.
They
And
were ridiculous.
like, if a woman is gonna be out here being a Jezebel or something, she gonna do it whether she got on red lipstick or chapstick. So
Yep.
I'd never understood that stuff. So I brought that example up because back in those days, if you walked into the church and you had on all of these things that you weren't supposed to have on, people were going to be looking at you crazy. Instead of being like, man, it's a good thing that this person came. They know where to come when they need help, right?
Mhm.
Now, granted, there are going to be some people, they're going to come for the wrong reasons. That's a given. That's anywhere in life. But I just brought that example up just to remind people, especially women, because women can be so catty and judgmental and competitive. Just to
Mhm.
get out of that, like we are adults, we're all grown women. And so just to remember, what comes along with that and each one teach one, really reach back and see, try to utilize all of the resources that you have and your different things that you went through, figure out how you can help somebody else go through. I'm a firm believer that the things that I go through is not just for myself. So whatever it is that I overcame, I can now use my testimony to help somebody else come through it. Um, I can't tell you how many women I've been able to encourage just by being open and transparent about the things that I've been able to overcome. Um, this one girl came up to me years ago and she said, "I want what you got." And I said, "What you mean?" She was like, your family so beautiful and your husband, he loves you." And I said, "You don't know what I went through to get here.
Right.
You don't know how many nights I cried. You don't know all of the spiritual warfare I went through." And so even something as simple as that, don't go outside with no mask on, your mascara and lipstick and you got it all together, face beat, but on the inside you hurting. No, like be honest and transparent. And that honesty and transparency is going to tell somebody else without even telling your business. It's going to tell somebody else, "Oh, it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay not to have it all together. I don't have to be Superwoman. I'm still
Mhm.
a great mom if I'm not Superwoman."
Absolutely, 100%. And I love that, you said that, look, women, we have to stick together. We have to have empathy for each other and we have to lift each other up. And I feel, a lot of times that's what's missing. We're trying to impress and outdo, the other woman, and it makes no sense to me. But
Mhm.
you also said that one of the things, that you did was sharing your story with other women, because, you never know, somebody might be struggling with the same thing that you struggled with.
Yep.
And you're just sharing your story to encourage them, to help them overcome.
Yep.
But I think the beautiful thing about you sharing your story is that you actually wrote a book based on some of the things that based on your testimony, some of the things that you've overcome, and you wrote Prayer for Purpose. It's a 21-day devotional journal for women. How did that book come about?
That book came about. It was actually going into a 21-day fast that I did with my church, and I was just fed up. I remember I had an attitude, so that's why the first day of the fast is on forgiveness. Um, but it's just going back to documenting all of the things that I had prayed about, and they're very simple, easy prayers. It's not nothing crazy where you're praying for like a whole hour, and that's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the way my ADD is set up, yeah, it's straight to the point. It's precise. It's titled Prayer for Purpose because it's literally focused prayers. Those prayers were certain things that I was paying attention to and focusing on at that time in my life. I had been battling being in and out of the hospital for lupus flares, so I was trusting God to heal me from that. It was just a lot. I was standing in a gap and interceding for my family and friends, different things that I knew that people were going through. I remember there were times where I didn't feel understood. So it was just a lot that I was carrying. And I remember telling myself, you know what, I'm going to really go hard and really go all out and dedicate, like consecrate myself during this fast because I needed answers by the end of that
Mhm.
21 days. I needed God to move. I needed that breakthrough. And I did not want to publish it. I did not. I did not. I fought it tooth and nail. I actually sat on that thing for like 3 years. And it was a conversation. My husband and I were having a conversation before. And you know what got me to press go? He reminded me. He said, "What are you waiting for?" And I remember just laughing it off like, he was like, "No, you told me that you promised God if he healed you, you were
Mm.
going to share your story, you were going to share your testimony." And I was like, "That's it. Enough said." I hit the go. So, yeah, we got to remember those promises that we make when we're in tough situations.
Oh no, and even the promises we make to ourselves,
Yeah.
because your book, as we're talking about, all of the different ways that we can help women kind of get out of this superwoman mindset, and maybe now this episode is not for everybody, right? Because there are some women that this is who they are, this is who they want to be, and that's okay. But we're talking to the women who you know can't do it all, know they can't do it all, and they're struggling to kind of just move past and be who they're to be their true selves. But
Mhm.
your book has blessed me. I mean, some friends, you've been on my friend's show on Women in Ministry on the Move, and it's just been a blessing to so many people. And I think the important thing too is sharing our stories, because we may not know how to overcome, but man, if I can hear a story about a woman who, or anybody for that matter, that has overcome something that I'm currently dealing with, that has so much impact.
For me, what made me started sharing more openly too, aside from this was one of the prayers I prayed literally in a hospital. God, you get me out of here. I'm going to testify. I'm going to shout it from the mountaintops. I'm going to tell everybody how great you are, what you did for me. I said all of those things and I meant it.
Mm-hmm.
But what really helped me, I remember being in church and I was thinking like, man, I just can't understand why somebody wouldn't believe in God, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't judge them. That's their journey, to each his own. But I remember sitting there thinking like, I just don't understand who wouldn't love a God like this. And I remember thinking to myself, the same things that we read about back in the day, back in Bible days, I've been fortunate enough to see those same miracles. I may not have seen stuff like water turning into wine and things like that, but I've seen healing take place. I've seen financial breakthroughs and miracles take place. I've seen a lot of those things just in my lifetime alone, my personal life. And so right along the time that I was thinking like that, my pastor was preaching about it. And he was believing in God, and he had faith for our church to be, holy ground, to see, modern day miracles. And I remember that's what changed for me. It was that year that I really started paying attention and seeing different things that I can equate to modern day miracles. So the same way I don't, when I go to people now, I still use
Mhm.
the Bible as the source, but I tell them, like, it's not just because, some people are going to say they don't believe in it. Okay,
Right.
you may not believe what's written in this book from all of these years ago, but what if I told you that this is what happened just in 2016? Like,
Yep.
this person is still living and breathing and able to tell you what God brought them through. And so that's what kind of changed it for me, putting it in a way that people can understand and relate to. That's been really helpful. Even like as a child, I grew up in church, but as a child, I related to God through music more than the pastors. I think children's ministry is great now because when I was growing up, we didn't have children's church. We had maybe a children's Sunday school class, but after that, you sitting in the main sanctuary with your mama and them. So when they talking about bills and marriages, you just sitting there like, can I get something to color? Can I get a coloring book? Can I get a piece of candy out of your purse, grandma? Not really paying attention, right? So it's so many different ways that you can share the ministry and the message. Um, yeah, it's just utilizing all of the different resources and tools, and I always tell people, you may not ever come to my church, and that's fine, but I hope that you can look at my life and feel that, because of what I see in her life, I know that
Mhm.
it's evident that God is real, and let me give this Jesus thing a try because I see it's working for her. That's the
Mhm.
goal.
And that's a blessing. I mean, and it's a blessing to know that, there are people that we can glean from who've, been through things that some of us are struggling with. And I guess the big picture is, so let's recap this picture of um this superwoman myth. So your picture is, it started with your mama and them.
Yeah, it's your own definition. I define what superwoman is for me. I don't go off of what society says or even what my family showed me.
Yeah.
To redefine it for me. What
Mhm.
for me? What being a superwoman for me means that I'm present for my family. I'm accomplishing my goals. I'm keeping those promises to myself and to others. I have a relationship with my creator.
Mhm.
If all of those things are aligned, I'm good. I don't have to do all of these things to check a box to make proof.
Mhm.
No, no, I don't desire to do that anymore. I hung my cape up years ago.
I know that's right. And in that process, you gave yourself grace. Um, you leaned on your support system. You leaned on God. You talked to God, and you understood what your limitations were.
Yep.
And you just said, "Look, I cannot do it all."
And I
And
don't want to. I don't want to anymore. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Nope.
love it, man. This has just been such a fun conversation with you. And I think I just want our listeners to know that being a superwoman is a choice, not an expectation, right?
Yep.
I think it's really about finding your own balance and staying true to yourself. And it's okay to set boundaries, seek support, prioritize your well being. And I think it's just time in 2023 that we challenge those stereotypes and just start empowering women to embrace who they really are.
We have to mention the self-care too, because I think the historical definition of superwoman, she was taking care of everyone but herself. And so I'm big on self-care. And self-care doesn't have to be going to the spa all the time. It can be something as simple as taking 5-10 minutes to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that can look different for many people. It can be just soaking in a bathtub with some Epsom salt and candles. It can be, my favorite self-care is going to get a pedicure because, you get the little massage and you walk out feeling pretty and taken care of. Either a pedicure, or I like to get my hair done. Those are like little treats I give myself every
Mm-hmm.
couple of weeks or so, especially after a tough week. It's nothing like sitting in a chair and somebody's just pampering you. That's like my
Yeah.
so and then also vacations. You can do extensive trips, long extended trips, or you can do a staycation, just something to change up the scenery. The little short weekend trips, those are helpful because it just gives you a different outlook, a different environment. You switch up everything and you could come back rested, refreshed, and rejuvenated. So all of those things are like part of my self-care routine.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing it more and more. And I think when I take care of myself, I can show up as a better wife, a better mother, a better friend. Oh, they love me at work because I'm rested. Like
Yeah.
I'm taking care of myself first. So
And that's what we have to remember, um, even if, and for the women who are that want to be superwomen, that's cool, but self-care still applies. Self-care still matters. We still have to do it. Well, thank you so much, Ciara. It has been a
sure.
joy having you with us, and we got to get you back on the show.
Awesome. Can't wait to do it. Thanks for having me.